Good day, everyone. You are welcome to another exciting moment of our facilitation exercise on EDU256 physics method. In our class today, we are going to look at the concept of science curriculum reform and how students learn science. And it's often said that the dynamic nature of science education in the world has resulted to constant revisiting or reformation in the curriculum to cope with the changing world of science and technology. In Nigeria, science education at all levels are in the past and presently facing serious problems emanating from poor achievement, low enrollment, declining popularity, and so on and so forth. In order to check, these problems, science education curriculum experts often embark on regular reformation of the curriculum, and this is the basis of curriculum reforms. In the Western world, it started with the Soviet Union launching of their Sputnik 1 into the orbit. And since then, the race of curriculum reformation began. So in today's class, we are going to look at series of curriculum reform in the Western world at the primary school level and at the secondary school level. In Nigeria, we're also going to look at the same curriculum reform at both levels. So it is my hope that you enjoy the best of this class. Get your writing material and let's meet on our learning platform. Let's meet there. You are welcome to the learning platform. Like it has been said, the topic for our discussion is major curriculum reform in science education in Nigeria. The instructional objectives. At the end of this class, it's expected that you should be able to state the major reasons for the reforms in science curriculum, list some funding science curriculum projects, their dates, and their financiers. We should also be able to list some Nigerian science curriculum projects, their date and their sponsors also, and mention the focus of each of the projects. At the end of the day, we should also be able to list the curriculum materials produced for the execution of the project. Why curriculum reform? Like I said in the introduction, curriculum development efforts in the 60s were sparked off on October 4, 1957 by the Soviet Union during the launching of the first man-made satellite to the Earth. It is, you can see this, let me try and show you. Now this is the satellite that was launched, and it was like a big challenge for the United States and other countries of the world that now they have taken charge of the Earth, planet Earth, but let them go out into the space and also exercise their level of power. So it was Soviet Union, of course Russia is part of the Soviet Union then. So they took up the challenge and they launched their first man-based satellite called Sputnik 1. So since then, the race began. So this led to the evolution of science curricula throughout the world under the leadership of the United States of America. Now let's look at some foreign curriculum reform that we have, and among them we have the Harvard Project Physics, as you can see here, Curriculum Project United States. So Harvard Project Physics. So we also have Chemical Bond Approach (CBA) and the Chemical Education Material that we called Chem Study. So we're going to look at some of this one and one after the. But of course, there are some other ones too, and but let's focus on these ones. Harvard Project Physics (HPP). The committee was established in 1964, and the pilot version of the course was made available in 1967. The course was developed to take care of wide range of students' ability. So that has just been the focus of the curriculum reform. The inspection of course, they produce textbooks, materials, and they produce some other items like that. And in the area of the chemical bond approach, CBA, the chemical bond approach was developed by the Chemical Bond Approach Committee, established at LM College, so Richmond, Indiana, so in 1958. So that was when that one was also created. And if you look at those one in the United Kingdom, we have what we call Scottish Integrated Science Project. We also have non-field combined science, non-field secondary science, and we also have school council integrated science projects. There are so many other curriculum efforts that are foreign, but these are just few ones that we're going to examine in the course of our discussion. Now, look at Physical Science Study Committee. The Physical Science Study Committee was established in the United States, established in 1956 at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and it was sponsored by the National Science Foundation. And the primary focus of that committee was to present physics as a unified, subject, but that it has a continuous process. So they are asked to link up all those important concepts in physics. And like I've said earlier on, the Harvard Physics Project, the committee was established in 1964, and the primary assignment was to develop physics courses for science-oriented and the science shy. There are some students that have, the science knowledge, they are oriented in science, and even though those who are science shy are those that may have little phobia for science. And this project, the Harvard Physics Project, was sponsored by National Science Foundation. Now that of Chemical Bond Approach, CBA, the CBA was developed by the CBA Committee, established at LM College, Indiana in 1958. The project was also sponsored by National Science Foundation to design an introductory course in chemistry. So these are some of the efforts in the United States of America. Now, for those in the United Kingdom, secondary school science projects in the United Kingdom, the initiative for curriculum development belonged to the science teachers. So it was the science teachers that pushed for the curriculum reform. So that's why they have the honor of claiming the initiative. And one of them is Scottish Integrated Science Project. The committee was established in 1964, and it was saddled with the responsibility of developing physics course for science oriented and the science shy. So this is also the same thing that was just done in the United States. So let's move on. Now let us have our first class activity. Put a brief note on two major curriculum reform projects in the United States and United Kingdom. Just two. Choose one from United States and another from United Kingdom, then put a brief note on them. Let's see how that will be carried out. Let's come back home. Science education curriculum reform in primary school in Nigeria. And we have the following. Let's list those. We have University of Nigerian Primary Science Pilot Scheme. That is UNN, University of Nigeria Nsukka Primary Science Pilot Scheme. So this one was there. We have the African Primary Science Project, APSP, and we also have the Bendel State Primary Science Project. Then the Fafunwa Popular Project, the 6-year Yoruba Language Primary Science Project, was also carried out. And we have the Primary Education Improvement Project, PEP, and we also have the Ondo State Primary Science Project. So these are few of the curriculum reform that took place at the primary school level. Now, of course, there are some influences, external foreign influences, that are pushed for this curriculum innovation at the primary school level. And some of those influences came from the elementary study of science, ESS of 1960. It was a project, and the outcome of these things led to some of these things, some of this reform. There's also the one we call a process approach, SAP of 1962, science as a process approach. So this also a curriculum effort uh, from the Western world that influenced curriculum reform projects in Nigeria. We have Science Education for Africa project, SEP, of 1970. We also have Science Teacher Education project, STEP, also in 1970. Then the influence and the Historic National Curriculum Conference held in 1969. So these are some of those influences that initiated the curriculum reform we'll not talk about today. Let us examine some of the details of some of the primary science curriculum projects that were carried out. And like is on the slide, the first one is University of Nigerian Primary Science Pilot Scheme, UNN, University of Nigeria Nsukka. This project is the first Nigerian primary science curriculum project in Nigeria. It began at the University of Nigeria Nsukka. Nsukka, in the then eastern part of Nigeria. It started like a pilot scheme in 1963. The scheme was jointly sponsored by the Faculty of Education, University of Nigeria, and Ford Foundation. The main focus of the scheme was on developing local materials and improvised equipment such as the use of jam jars, bamboo microscope, and so on for the teaching of primary school. Now, the second one is the African Primary Science Project, APSP. The APSP is another earliest curriculum innovative project in science at primary school level. It was launched in Kano in January 1965. The project was sponsored, financially and materially by United States Agency for International Development, USAID, Ford Foundation of America, and Education Development Center, EDC, of Massachusetts. The program was later referred to as the Science Education Project for Africa, SEPA. The main purpose of the project was to create in the children the spirit of inquiry and sense of curiosity, and to develop in them the skills, techniques, and mental attitude to satisfy the inquiry spirit required in science. Another prominent one was the Bendel State Primary Science Project. The BPSP started in Benin City in 1966. It was first called Midwestern State Primary Science Project and later became known as Bendel State Primary Project. The project was directed by the State Ministry of Education. It was jointly financed by United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the government of the former Midwestern state of Nigeria. The general purpose of the project, was in the development of primary science curriculum and the training of teachers to teach primary science. So that was the primary focus of that. And let's talk about the IFE 6-year Yoruba language primary science project. The project was part of an enlarged IFE 6 years Yoruba primary project initiated in 1970 at the University of Ife under the chairmanship of Professor Aliu Babatunde Fafunwa. He was then the director of Institute of Education of the university. The main purpose of the program, the objective of the project, was to develop primary education curriculum with strong values, for science, since primary education, was terminal for many Nigerian children. It also aimed to use Yoruba language as a medium of instruction throughout, in order to demonstrate that the primary instruction, when given in the child mother tongue, bring better results than using the foreign language. That was the purpose of that. Then, so I want to charge you to read up the Primary Education Improvement Project (PEP) and the Ondo State Primary Science Project. Discussing each of those curriculum projects under the secondary school science curriculum project. Let me give you a very brief background about this secondary school science curriculum project. You know, the content of the science curriculum project long before independence and after independence did not provide enough learning experience for students to become useful to society. The curriculum was intended for Cambridge University by West Africa Examination Council (WAEC) and was designed partially to satisfy the requirement of its external examination in science. It was not domesticated. The poor state of this type of curriculum in science gave a lot of concern to Science Teachers Association of Nigeria (STAN) and WAEC in 1968, who jointly examined and revised the existing syllabus in science. Effort made by some curriculum agents such as STAN, WAEC, NERDC, and CESAC, resulted in the creation of some curriculum projects that were undertaken. Among them are the ones that we listed here. So let's look at them one after the other. For the basic science for Nigerian Secondary School, BSNSS, it was the first science curriculum development project undertaken in Nigeria between 1963 to 1967 at the Comprehensive High School, Ayetoro. The project was popularly known as Ayetoro Project, and it was financed by Ford Foundation of America and Western Nigerian Regional Government and coordinated by CESAC of the University of Lagos. So that was about BSNSS. So now let's talk about the Nigerian Integrated Science Project. The Nigerian Integrated Science Project was the first science curriculum project developed by STAN in 1970. Some of the skills listed for the students to acquire after having been exposed to a course in integrated science are observing, measuring, classifying, reporting, organizing, generalizing, predicting, and experimenting. So those skills were emphasized in the curriculum project. You can read further on those ones, the commissioning of the textbooks that came out of that effort. Another popular one was the Nigerian Secondary School Science Project, NSSP. The Nigerian Secondary School Science Project was developed by the Comparative Education Study and Adaptation Center, CESAC, in 1970. The center was formerly at the University of Lagos, but has now been merged with the former Nigerian Educational Research Council and the Nigerian Language Center to form the new Nigeria Educational Research and Development Center. The general purpose of the project was preparation of young ones for useful living in society and higher education through training in the use of both brain and hands. So that was the effort from CESAC. So, and the last one we are going to discuss is the National Science Curriculum for Senior Secondary School. The advent of the new 6-3-4 system of education in Nigeria called for the development of new curriculum in every subject area for both the junior and senior secondary school level of education. So in science subjects, namely biology, chemistry, and physics, some of these things were carried out, and it was for that purpose. So you can read further on this and add value to the explanation you have had. Now let us have the second class activity. Discuss briefly on any two curriculum efforts at the primary school level in Nigeria. So choose any of the two, any of the available curriculum efforts, and discuss briefly on them. Let us have a quick wrap up. We have discussed the fact that external influences and foreign curricula motivated many of the curriculum innovation, in science education, both at the Western world and in Nigeria. Notable among the curriculum projects in Nigeria are For the primary school, for the primary level, we have the UNN, University of Nigeria Nsukka Primary Science Pilot Scheme. We have that of the African Primary Science Project, APSP, the Bender State Primary Science Project, BPSP. We have also discussed if a 6-year Yoruba language primary science project. The Primary Education Improvement Project, was also there, and the Ondo State Primary Science Project. All these are efforts that we have considered at the primary school level. Also at the secondary school level, we have the basic science for Nigerian secondary school. We also have the Nigerian Integrated Science Project, which was powered by STAN in 1970, and we also discussed Nigerian Secondary School Science Project by CESAC. And lastly, the most current one is the National Science Curriculum for Senior Secondary School, which is the basis of the 6334 that we're using now. So on this note, we are going to end the class. Until we meet next time, bye for now.